There are American lives at stake here, because a number of these elections could determine whether hundreds of thousands of people remain in or even fall into what's known as the Medicaid gap. And I know that sounds like a terrible clothing chain where you can buy khaki hospital gowns sewn by children in India, but amazingly, it's even worse than that. Meet Kathy Owen, a Texas woman who can't afford insurance, has a family history of colon cancer, and is desperately saving up for a colonoscopy.
$8,000 stands between me and maybe another 20 years of my life if I have colon cancer. But I find myself now, at 53, with grown kids, in serious need of help. Hard to ask for, but absolutely necessary.
That's just terrible. $8,000 should not be the difference between living or dying. It should be the difference between buying this authenticated bass guitar signed by Paul McCartney and this baseball supposedly signed by Kanye West. And, by the way, why does that object exist? Is Kanye West interrupting baseball games now? I'm gonna let you finish this pitch, but my signature is the greatest signature of all time. Of all time! And look, if your instinct is, wasn't Obamacare supposed to solve this kind of problem? Well, yes, you're right, it was. To oversimplify things just a bit, the idea was, under Obamacare, people without insurance would be split into two groups. Those who made upwards of 138% of the poverty line would be eligible to buy insurance with subsidies up to a certain point. And as for the poorest Americans, Medicaid, which had previously generally applied to children, their parents and the disabled, would have been expanded to include everyone else. At which point, with everyone insured, America was supposed to go outside, brush the dead leaves off the trampoline and celebrate with a backflip and a broken tibia. The Supreme Court even famously upheld Obamacare in 2012. What you may not remember is that even that very day, there were hints it may not have been an unequivocal victory.
John Roberts sided with the 4 liberal justices, voting 5-4 to uphold nearly all of President Obama's health care law.
And there's the problem, because nearly all is not a reassuring statement. Healthcare is like a pair of gym shorts. Even if it covers nearly all of what it's supposed to, you're still left with some problematic gaps, and terrible things can happen. The most striking election this year is in Kentucky, where they did expand Medicaid, and by all accounts, it has worked brilliantly. Kentucky has seen the nation's steepest drop in the rate of uninsured residents. Only an idiot would try to undo that. Which brings me to gubernatorial candidate Matt Bevin. He has been accused of wanting to end the expansion and kick people off Medicaid, something he denies.
You're hearing things that I'm supposedly saying, which in fact I've never said. I've never said I'm going to kick people off of Medicaid.
All right, OK, fine, you never said that. Well, I presume that means that this footage does not exist.
The fact that we have 1 out of 4 people in this state on Medicaid is unsustainable, it's unaffordable.
So if you were governor, you would undo his executive order to expand Medicaid?
Absolutely. No question about it. I would reverse that immediately.
The only rational explanation is that Matt Bevin has cloned himself, and his clone, Bat Mevin, is even stupider than he is. And what makes his opposition to government assistance especially hard to take is that he heads up a family bell-making business whose Connecticut factory sadly burned down a few years ago. So what did this staunch, small government, free market advocate do?
Owner Matthew Bevin vows to rebuild, and he may be getting some help.
Senator Blumenthal vows to explore EPA grants for cleanup, possible small business loans, and potential resources from FEMA and other federal agencies.
Your kind offer to basically form Team Belltown is critical.
Now, to be fair, Team Belltown did not receive federal assistance. Bevin did, however, get a $100,000 state grant to reopen his factory. So if Matt Bevin ends up winning, I presume he'll give you health care as long as you cover yourself in bells and set yourself on fire. But the real irony here is that Bevin did not have insurance to cover the fire because he claimed no company would insure the buildings for a price that made sense. That's right. Because the cost of insurance was too high, he needed to turn to the government for help. And quite frankly, Matt Bevin, that should ring a f***ing bell.